1920s, a man living at the bottom of the canyon used the same trail every day to bring in the animals he herded. One day in the middle of the trail, he found a perfectly round stone broken in half. Looked inside of half of it, and in crystal quartz he beheld the image of the Virgin Mary. That image of the Virgin in the stone is known as the Virgin of Light, and she was housed in a little temple in a small community called San Miguel de Allende, and in a little chapel. And the people there prayed to her for many years. Many miracles are attributed to her.
So tell me if you're feeling something. You know I hate living in the dark. Don't tell me that it's all for nothing. You know that you...
The stones embedded in the side of this path were put there as early as 540 AD. As far as we know, the site was occupied between about 540 and 1050 AD, and that makes it what we call an epi-classic site. There are three major time periods in Mesoamerican archaeology: pre-classic, classic, and post-classic. The pre-classic period started around 1800 BC, when people first started settling down, planting crops, building monuments, and organizing society in this part of the world. And that saw the rise of the first advanced civilization in Mexico, known as the Olmec. The Olmec are also referred to by many as the mother culture, because they invented many of the traits that I mentioned earlier that made Mesoamerica a unique culture heart. Famous for their colossal stone heads they erected along the Gulf Coast of Veracruz and Tabasco. Some of those heads weighed up to half a ton, very large, and showed display African, even Oriental features of very mysterious people. They faded out of the archaeological record around 400 BC, probably due to intense volcanic activity. Then, the Classic period began. The Classic period was marked by the rise of the great metropolis outside of Mexico City, Teotihuacan. If you guys have a chance to see that one, I highly recommend you check it out. Some would call it the largest, most important archaeological site in this hemisphere. It covered about 20 square kilometers, between 150 and 200,000 people at its peak, the sixth largest city in the world during the 6th century. That was the unifying force, controlling power, and central authority over all of Mesoamerica during what we call the Classic period, when art, writing, astronomy, architecture, everything reached its most refined and advanced level because of a period of relative peace. That big city held it all together. This is really what Mesoamerica looked like. Arid America to the north, true desert, hunters and gatherers. Turquoise came down from the New Mexico area. Some of the turquoise discovered here could be traced back to the actual mine that it came out of in New Mexico. Jade and jadeite up from Guatemala. Shell necklace, mother of pearl pendant worn by the king in his burial. Shell pendants and beads coming from both coasts. Their trademark style of pottery is called raised white. It's been discovered as far away as Mexico City, Querétaro, and Hidalgo. And this little figurine they call a Nguyen style depicts a priest holding perhaps a sacrificial knife and a bag of incense. With the square nose and all, figurines almost identical have been discovered in the tombs of the Zapotec and Mixtec people of Oaxaca, another link to Oaxaca through art. But then when we get to the top of the mesa, we'll go through the hurricane fence that's around 16 hectares of federal property. And that's when you'll witness 3 different examples of the most characteristic and focal element of the architecture, which up to this point, you may be assuming, would be the pyramids. And the pyramids are definitely very important artificial mountains. They emulate the landscape and they serve various functions. If I had to narrow it down to just one burial and call it the most interesting yet discovered, it would have to be burial number 13, the man they call El Jerarca, the hierarch. I sometimes refer to him as the king because I don't like having to pronounce the word hierarch. It's hard for me for some reason. But he was killed with an axe blow to the head when he was about 52.
In the dark. Don't tell me that it's all for